Hello and welcome to GearHeads. My name is Jesse, and today I just have a quick video for you guys to show you a very common problem that I see. I live in a bit more of a smaller town in a more rural area, and if you own an older Chevy, you live somewhere like I do, or you work on a lot of Chevys, you've probably seen issues like this before. And this is about rodent damage specifically, but it's also a vehicle that came in for a no start situation, and I'll get into a little bit more details right here when I take you over to the truck. So this truck showed up for a crank no start, and it sort of actually does start. It starts for like a split second and then shuts itself off. Now the backstory on this customer was driving the car. He had it die on him, and he diagnosed the problem himself as a fuel pump. He did a fuel pressure test, and he knew he was getting power back to the pump, but he was getting no fuel pressure. Okay, so he took the bed off. He replaced the fuel pump himself, got it running, took it for a decently long drive, and it drove pretty good. Came back home, parked it for a couple days, and then the next time he went to fire it up, it wouldn't go anymore. So from there he tested and he verified that he still had fuel pressure, because obviously since he'd just done the pump, he was maybe suspecting an issue there. And he also tested for spark, and it had spark as well. After that, he kind of, wasn't too sure where to go. He tried plugging in a code reader to it, and it had no communication with the computer. So at that point, he said, okay, I'll let somebody else handle it and figure it out. And that's how the vehicle got towed in and showed up to me. Now, if you look behind me, I don't know if I can show you. I'll have to drag the camera over there and show you. There's a hint of what happened here. And this is a problem that I see on a lot of Chevys, anything from the late 90s up to the mid 2000s, and then even up to like the 2015 and the newer models. The fuse box design on these lends themselves to this problem, and basically it's just rodent damage. They love to go in, and underneath the fuse box is a nice big open area where they've got a whole bunch of connectors, and mice and rats love to go into there, drag all the little nuts and all the pieces of insulation that they stole from around the car, make themselves a little house in there and start chewing up the wires. I've seen this on tons of Chevys, and that's almost always in the same spot. So first, let me show you, in case you're trying to diagnose a problem with this, let me show you a couple signs of what actually was happening with this vehicle, and then I'll show you the fuse box too. Okay, so you might notice the dash is a little bit taken apart. He knew and suspected there was a wiring issue for the PCM, but let me give you a really quick test here, something to check always. You turn the key on. Now look, there's a check engine light. Watch what happens when I go ahead and crank this thing. It's going to try and start for a split second and shut itself off. There you go. So you can probably hear it fired up for literally a second, and then it died. Now if I shut the key back off, turn it on, notice there's no check engine light up there anymore, and that is because there's no communication with the PCM on this thing. So what's going to happen if you go and try and plug a code reader into it, you will not get any communication with the engine computer. If you have a fancier scanner like I do, you may or may not be able to talk to some of the other modules depending on what the electrical issue is. In this case, I was still able to talk to the body control module and some of the other modules, and they all had communication codes. So let's go out to the front of the vehicle now. So the first hint that there might have been mice involved here is all that insulation back on the firewall behind the engine that got eaten up. The mice love to chew that up, so always keep an eye out. They also love to eat up the underside of the hood cover here. There's plenty of insulation in there for them to grab, and they will pull from other places as well. Now you can see I pulled the fuse box up here, and let's turn my light on and take a look. So when I first pulled the fuse box up, this entire area down here and this whole spot was completely filled with insulation, and I pretty much immediately at that point knew what had happened. Now if you look down here at this connector, you'll see that little green wire right there, and then there's the other end of it that's supposed to be hooked up to it right here. That green wire is the communication wire for the CAN system, for the serial communication system for the PCM to talk to all the other modules, and that is why is firing up, because the PCM still has its powers and grounds. It still is giving spark. It's still commanding fuel for a second, but as soon as it's not getting its signal from the body control module and the anti-theft system, the computer is shutting itself back off and shutting the engine back off. So hopefully that can help you if you're facing any, at least, you know, that gives you a little bit more information as to what might be going on if you have a vehicle shutting right on and off like that. So the next thing to do on this car is going to be to go ahead and fix that wire, but in the meantime I will show you with a quick jumper wire. That was the only thing keeping this car from starting. So as you can see, I used some alligator clips to go ahead and jumper the wire that had been eaten away together. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up, or at least try to, and see what happens. Alright, so as you can see, the vehicle fired right up, and that means this diagnosis is over. So the next step is going to go ahead and be to just fix and repair that single wire. And then the rat did nibble on a little bit of the other one, so I'm going to go ahead, but he didn't get to the wires much, so I'm going to go ahead and just wrap those with electrical tape. You can also use stuff like liquid electrical tape to reseal it as well. And then after that, and when this is back together, I'm going to go ahead and recommend him get a, you know, kit. They have different kits available online that make that flash LED lights under the hood. Makes like animal noises that scare the mice and rats as well. I actually have seen a decent amount of luck using those kits. I've had a lot of customers that have sometimes a lot more serious rodent and wiring damage than this caused by mice and rats. And after putting those kits on their cars, they haven't had any more issues, at least under the hood. I've had a few, the mice decide instead that then they want to go inside the car, which is a whole different story. So I hope you guys found the video entertaining and informative and hopefully helpful. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them down below. Obviously, you know, this wasn't a super in-depth video, but this was just kind of a quick thing going over a common problem I see, and this was just an example of it that I happen to have show up today, so I figured I'd make a quick video for you guys and show you what's going on and show you how you might be able to, you know, diagnose and solve this problem if you ever run into it yourself. In any case, thank you for watching. If you have any more questions or any comments, please drop them down below. I do my best to get back to you guys and answer everybody's questions. And anyway, that's about it for today. So, thank you, and as always, keep wrenching.